Do you ever see a billionaire and thought about how this idea came into his or her mind? Why can't I think like that? Why everyone thinks different? How do different thoughts come into our minds? Did this ever happen to you? That you are doing something with focus and your mind is racing with random thoughts? When we are in the shower, तब भी हमें बहुत डिफरेंट थॉट्स आते हैं. कुछ हमसे, कुछ हमारे जीवन से रिलेटेड होते हैं, तो कुछ कम्प्लीटली रैंडम थॉट्स होते हैं. कई बार तो इतना फ्लो आ जाता है कि मैं बहुत ज़्यादा डीप में चले जाता हूँ और मुझे रियलाइज़ भी नहीं होता. बट समटाइम्स आफ्टर थिंकिंग सो मच आई रियलाइज़ कि मेरा इन सब से कोई रिलेशन ही नहीं है. वाई एम आई थिंकिंग लाइक दिस? लेट्स सी if it's just a part of being alive or part of who we really are. Someone asked Buddha a similar question. Where do our thoughts come from? So Buddha replied, if somebody shot you with an arrow, before removing that arrow, you will think, where does this arrow come from? Why someone will shoot it at me? In that situation, the main concern should be to remove that arrow. But human mind will think about how did it start? Buddhism teachings were very practical. Through arrow, Buddha was trying to say suffering. He said, you should remove the suffering first, which means don't overthink about it. It's all in your head, just remove it. So it's a process of how we function. From different thoughts, we build a clear picture into our mind and we try to function accordingly. And it all starts from a thought. Ever imagine how does that thought comes into our mind? Like what is it? Consciousness, subconsciousness, your soul, your mind, the voice in our head, where does it come from? So when we think about something, it is because the neurons in our brains are sending signals to each other. These signals can be triggered by things we experience, such as sights and sounds, or by our internal processes, such as memories or emotions. When there is a thought generated, there will be neurons fire. So, if you are thinking, what are neurons? They are nervous system cells, responsible for receiving sensory input from the external world. Our external environment leads to the pattern of neuron firing. This means that if we are put in the same situation twice, the firing of neuron will be similar. That's the reason people tend to act in a similar way to same situation. There is no biological term for thoughts. The neurons pattern that enable thoughts and behavior have proximal and distal causes. The proximal causes are circumstances we experience. These experiences have causal impact on our bodies. The forces inside and outside the body becomes manifest in the brain as information. These are random information from which thoughts can occur. The distal causes are experiential history, things we have learned consciously and subconsciously. जो हमें वो अंदर से आवाज़ सुनाई देती है. Behind that voice, which we call thoughts, neurons are exchanging signals. और जो हमारे थॉट्स हैं वो बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स से इन्फ्लुएंस हो सकते हैं, जैसे पर्सनालिटी, पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस, और जहाँ हम बड़े हुए, जिस कल्चर में रहें, जो चीज़ हम बहुत ध्यान से करते हैं, सोच समझ के करते हैं और मोस्टली नया कर रहे होते हैं, उसे हमें कॉन्शियस माइंड से करना पड़ता है. पर अगर कोई चीज़ हम रेगुलर बेसिस पे करते हैं तो वो एक हैबिट बन जाती है एंड वो हैबिट कहीं ना कहीं सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में सेव हो जाती है. एंड जब भी हम वो काम करते हैं तो हमारा सबकॉन्शियस माइंड डायरेक्टली काम कर रहा होता है. अगर बहुत सिंपल डेफिनेशन में देखा जाए, इफ़ वी डू समथिंग रेगुलरली, आवर सबकॉन्शियस माइंड विल एडप्ट टू दैट एंड वी विल नॉट एनालाइज इट एवरी टाइम वी डू इट. इट्स लाइक ट्रेनिंग योर माइंड. Our subconscious mind operates below the level of conscious awareness. It is believed to be responsible for many of the automatic processes that go on in our minds and bodies, such as breathing, digestion, and heart function. It is also thought to play a role in more complex mental processes, such as memory, perception, and language. Like अगर आप ऑफिस, स्कूल या कॉलेज जाते हैं तो आपको ड्राइव करते वक्त अपने दिमाग पर जोर नहीं देना पड़ता. ये सब ऑटोमेटिकली हो जाता है। आपको सोचना नहीं पड़ता कि अभी लेफ़्ट लेना है या राइट। ये काम आपका सबकॉन्शियस माइंड ऑटोमेटिकली कर लेता है। दैट्स वाई पीपल से देयर इज़ अ पावर इन रूटीन। यू नो, इफ़ यू वांट टू अचीव सम गोल इन योर लाइफ, हमें वो चीज़ रेगुलरली कंसिस्टेंसी के साथ करनी पड़ेगी। ओवरऑल द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन द सबकॉन्शियस माइंड एंड द कॉन्शियस इज़ अंडर इन ऑनगोइंग रिसर्च and there is still a lot to understand about how it works. So our brain function in two different ways, consciously and subconsciously. Thinking is a mental activity of the human mind that never ceases. It has no beginning and no end. The majority of person's thoughts arise from the subconscious mind. We do not consciously choose most of our thoughts. They just arise from a mental chatter. Most of our thoughts that we act on have a strong feeling attached to them. They have a repetitive pattern of activity that delivers similar results. But now the question is, are these thoughts take place inside our mind or come from outside? Let's take a straightforward example. There is a white room filled with paintings, showpieces, and there are many people in that room. So, do you think that everyone present in that room will like it? Of course, everyone will have a different opinion. So definitely thoughts are based on perception. Whole our life shapes our thoughts, like how we want to see something. So thoughts arise within us. हम अपनी लाइफ को कैसे देखते हैं ये हम पर डिपेंड करता है. Our thoughts come from our surroundings. That's why you have heard it many times. Think positive. So yes, it is true. Positive thoughts does make our brain understand that everything will be alright. In simple words, your brain is the map of the house you are planning to build. If that map is itself in doubt, the possibility of building a house will also fail. Whenever someone says negative about your idea or your planning, the thought of doubt comes into your mind. And that is how our thoughts are influenced by outside. Sometimes people just put that seed of negative thought into your mind. Now, it's your choice to build the tree out of it or just ignore it. That's what Buddha was trying to explain. ये चीज़ टोटली हम पर डिपेंड करती है कि जो रैंडम थॉट्स हमारे माइंड में घूम रहे हैं उसमें से किसको प्रायोरिटी देनी है. So yes, it is true. Everything who we are and who we want to start in our head. So choose your thoughts wisely and let the positive tree grow inside your head.